Look it. Look it. It's freaking bats. I love Halloween.
Sorry, let me, there we go. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Maggie.
I'm Eric.
This is the ceramic shop, and we're going to talk about
Bats.
The first thing to consider when you're looking for bats is your pin distance. So a standard wheel in the States has a pin distance of 10 inches. So most of the bats on the market are going to be calibrated for that. A couple of instances where you would have different bat pin distance than that would be, say, a tabletop wheel or an off-brand wheel. A tabletop wheel would have, generally because they're going to have smaller wheel heads, those bat pins would be closer together.
Yeah, so there have been a couple ones where like we'll have some inserts, and for tabletop ones you just try to put it down and you can just see the bat pin just barely does not fit. And they're just making it custom for the space that they have allotted for their wheels, you know. So just a big thing to keep in mind, you want to make sure you get the bats that actually fit your wheel head. That's all.
That is number one. So if you do have one of those non-standard wheel heads, you're going to have a smaller selection to choose from, but that's just the very first thing to note is what are my pin distances and what are my options?
Yeah. Once you have the distance for your bat pins, then you're going to start thinking about what materials you're going to be using. There's three primary materials you're pretty much going to be picking from. Starting off, we have the basic plastic coming in a bunch of different colors, different selections, thicknesses, and stuff like that. And then we have Medex, which used to be MDF, but the product pretty much improved. So now it's just called Medex. And then finally, you have Plaster bats. And all of these have different reasons you'd be using them, and we're going to go through those.
Yeah. So let's start with plastic, because I think it might be the most common.
Yep.
The benefit of using plastic would be that the material doesn't get waterlogged. It's pretty sturdy. There's a slight chance if that you use a lot of direct heat on it, it could warp, but in general, we think of it as a material that doesn't warp. So it's a couple different options for plastic bat. Speedball makes a wide variety of sizes and colors. They're all very fun.
Very.
We've got our bullseye bats, which have the concentric circles etched into them. That's going to be a visual aid similar to what you find directly on the wheel head when you're centering. And then we have New England hardboard plastic bats. They're all really durable and really popular bats.
Yeah, good to use. The next type of bat that we can have would be the Medex or like the MDF type bat system. I was a production potter for about 5 years, and this was the primary type that we would use. Ours came in a bunch of different sizes. The ones we have are typically closer to that like ½ inch mark. The big positives with them, really ease of use. They do absorb some moisture, so when you are using them, you do want to make sure that they're flipped each time you're using them. So in this case, if you use it on one side, have the pot dry out, not completely, but enough to pop it off. The next time you use it, you're going to want to flip it over because it can warp a little bit. I found them really nice to use. They are really good because I enjoy the fact that they can dry out the base of your pot a little bit while it's drying. It does help over kind of like longer periods of time for your pot to firm up a little bit more. It does make it a little bit easier to pop off. Whereas like the plastic would resist that a little bit. But again, this is also kind of a preference thing. Last thing with Medex is they are probably like the most cost effective. So with production potteries, because they're buying so many or making so many pieces, Medex usually is the most cost effective for that reason. Other part is they come in many different sizes, which is also super helpful if you're making a bunch of different size pots, everything kind of like that. And another thing too is they come with many different brands.
Yeah, so you can get New England hardboard, we have Kentucky Mudwork / Dirty Girls, and also North Star. And the third main material that we consider for bats is going to be plaster. So plaster bats, our hydro bats, are actually where the whole company started. So that was the first thing our owner, Mark, he started making them in his garage, and that is what grew the ceramic shop. We use a hydrostone plaster, which is more durable than something that you would probably be using in your studio, like a pottery plaster, which is really nice. So you know those bats are going to be nice and durable. The benefit to using plaster is that it absorbs the water from the pot as it's drying.
Yeah.
So you don't actually have to wire anything off of them. You're just going to let it dry, and that piece is just going to pop right off of it. Which is especially nice if you're making larger things. I personally really love using a hydrobat for making platters, making a pie plate, or something along those lines, where I have in the past cut right through the bottom and ruined the whole thing. It really saves a lot of devastation in the studio.
Also keeps your base even.
Keeps your base, because you don't have to wire it off. So,
which is, especially for big things, I've noticed I've had a lot of trouble with that,
so we have them as small as 8 inches if you want to use them as more of a production bat, and you can just get a little adapter for those. And obviously we make them quite large as well. We make them for plates and a bunch of different shapes. We have domes that you can do bowls on and stuff like that. But it's a really nice bat for not having to worry about, and especially if you maybe aren't going into your studio every day, or if you, that kind of stuff. I've personally thrown on plaster bats and then left them too long, and then you're like, oh no, that's leather hard.
Yeah. So at least it's good, even if you forget about it, you're not going to have a piece completely just stuck to the bat.
Absolutely.
Which is a good benefit. And the other big part is they don't warp. Especially for those bigger pieces that you were mentioning, if they're sitting there for a little bit, once it's actually ready to pop off, it's not like the Medex where you might have to flip it each time. You know that you'll be able to pop it off and then start fresh right again. And it's just a nice benefit. So
they're really great. I would say that they might have a very small learning curve, just because while Medex does absorb some water, it doesn't absorb it in the same way. So I would say do a practice run to get used to it. But that's with a lot of stuff in ceramics. Do a practice run first.
Do a practice run first. Do some testing, do a little bit.
But they're also the hydrobats are really nice to have in your studio also, because they can be used as a plaster board when you're not using them as bats. If you just, I make casserole dishes, or I make pie plates every once in a while, but it's not something I do all the time. They're there as something to use in your studio.
Very universal.
Slip, and they're very good, And reclaim, absolutely, So I think they're a great tool to have in your studio, even off of the wheel.
Yeah, very much so, exactly.
For the smaller hydrobats, they obviously aren't 10 inches wide, so they won't fit those 10-inch bat pins. So what you would do would be, for a smaller wheel head on the smaller bats, or smaller wheels, you would get the smaller size adapter bat for them. And for a standard size wheel head, you would get our standard adapter for the hydrobats.
Just like that. So now that we went through all the different materials, now you're going to be choosing your bats specifically on the sizes and shapes of the pots that you're going to be making. So obviously going from even like tiny little ramekins, mugs, things of that nature, all the way up to huge casserole dishes, platters, they're all going to require different things. So most universal would probably be kind of like the plastic ones, just because they do come in a bunch of different sizes and shapes. And they're going to range between pots, I would say, up to about like a 5-pound mark. They can go above that, obviously they can go below that. But the biggest thing would be the larger pieces, especially we're going to say wide. You don't want your pots to warp because of clay memory. So if you're going to pick things up, sometimes the super wide, even like Medex boards can have a little bit of shift to them. Which can cause some warping. It's not anything bad, but just kind of things to keep in mind. As well as some of the plastic ones too. If you're having really wide bases, or really a lot of it, for me, is what it comes down to, is when you're picking it up off of the bat pins, it can warp a little bit. And depending on how delicate your shape is can also help define whether or not it could take that warping or it can't.
Yeah, absolutely. Something larger, wider, specifically with very thin walls, is going to be more prone to warping than something that is taller with thicker walls. So yeah, you just want to take that into consideration when, like this bat here and the plastic all black bats, they're a solid unit, so they are solid underneath your pots.
Exactly.
Which is nice. So for large pots, you want to make sure that the bat is big enough to hold what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of times, I think most potters are making mugs a lot. That's going to generally be the most common pot that's made. So you might want to take into consideration saving space on your wear board.
Yes.
So, or your shelf, depending on your studio and all that kind of stuff. So for the smallest individual bats that you can get, you're either looking at a 10-inch round bat or a 7-inch square bat. So we're still taking the 10-inch bat pins into consideration, and that 7-inch square bat would fit those bat pins. But on the shelf, you can see that you would be able to fit more square bats than you would be able to fit round, as at least you would be able to fit them flat.
Exactly.
So every time I've stacked as many round bats as I can, they are leaning on top. They overlap them, which is not the worst, but not the best.
Yeah, that's why the square ones are super nice, is because they just go end to end, and it's nice and convenient. It's nice and organized. Yeah, and a lot of it is just they look good together then. So that's nice. That's a nice aspect.
That's a nice aspect. And then the one way to kind of a lot of people like the round bats over the square bats because you have that 7-inch side to side, and that's really that 7 inches is what you're going to be working on. Those extra 3 inches for the bat pins, because that's not going to be solid as it's spinning. So you're not really going to be working on that surface
the whole
time. A lot of people don't prefer that, and I totally get that. I find it fine, but if you don't, that's
like a lot of
more
this,
power to you.
It's preference.
It's all about choices.
It's all about choices.
But a way to kind of bridge that gap is using a bat system. So we make the Snap Bat system, but you can also get the Dirty Girls bat system and the North Star bat system as well. So that consists of a base with inserts in it. So we have got our base here. And it has about 6-inch bat insert that goes into it. So we've got, we've got our 10-inch bat pins here. You place that on the bat, or you place that on the wheel head, and then your inserts go right in. And that way you are throwing on a smooth surface. And then when you're ready for the next one, you just pop that out, and this takes up much less space on your drying rack. And you can get those. Primarily we see square bat inserts, but you can get round bat inserts on some of the, I think the Dirty Girls system as well. Then that's just preference. I think the circles actually can be fairly small. That is one of the benefits of them. But this is our Snap Bat system, and we also, I'm going to give you that.
Go for it.
We also have our Snap Bat Slim system. So this is a newer product, and it just works the same exact way. You're just going to put it on the bat pins, and then it comes with 10 inserts. So you just snap it into place, and I don't have the little tool.
That's okay.
And then you just pop it out. So I find these really easy to use. This is actually the system that I use in my studio when I'm not using a larger bat, if I'm not making something larger.
The bats are really sturdy. That's another
They're
big
very
part.
sturdy.
That's what I like
They're
about
very
this system
sturdy,
too. Is the nice part about these is it very easily pops off the bat system. Again, you can very easily take one off, put a new one in. It's very quick. There's really not much troubleshooting or anything with it. Once you have this actually popped on, you have your new bat in place. You can also see that even though the wheel is spinning, I'm not actually going to be getting caught by any of the corners there, which is a really nice convenient thing. But also then when I'm popping these guys off, you still have the convenience of a smaller base to stack things next to it, like you said earlier. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So other really nice part about both these systems is the fact that the bat inserts for the, we'll say the older system, also work for the new system as well. So they are interchangeable, so if you would upgrade, you're not going to have to get a full new thing of inserts. They're interchangeable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's obviously a really nice, convenient thing. They're backwards compatible.
Yes. And then there are a few specialty bats available. A product that we just started carrying is called Flexi Bats. So this is going to be a foam bat, and it does come with little round grommets to hold into place, but they feature a raised area in the center that has a design on it. So you actually put it on your bat pins, you plop your clay down in the center. It has concentric rings so that you know how thick that your clay is getting. So we've got like 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. And once that starts drying, you pop it off of the bat and you have this design in the bottom of the pot. So that's a really interesting specialty bat that has recently come onto the market.
Yeah, it's a cool little thing, you know, especially if you're not too much of a fan of like trimming foot rings.
Yes.
This is a really nice way to basically have a fully finished pot, or at least on the base. You know, you might still need to do some trimming on the sides, but you really don't have to focus on the foot much at all. So that's like a nice little benefit of using a product kind of like this. But again, just as everything else, it comes down to whatever the preference is, what you like.
Yeah,
everything
as
like that.
I think it's with every aspect of pottery, as we've been talking about clay and how to make handles and all the different, we are not in want of choices in pottery, but I'm always going to say the absolute best way to do it, the best product, is the way that works best for you.
Yep, exactly.
That's what's really nice about this craft, is that it can be very personalized.
Very personalized, a lot of choices. They're all cool.
They're all good.
You
They're
can't
all
go wrong.
cool. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So after kind of concluding with all of our bat systems, different types of bats, the next section is obviously going to be trimming. With trimming, you'll also have trimming bat systems and chucks and stuff kind of like that, but we're just going to save that for a different video, so you're going to have to come back for that one. So thank you. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow! That was good. I like that. There we go. Hell yeah.
You guys are getting great.
We're getting good, buddy. All right.
Professionals.
Professionals.